Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P. Joe P. Zapia. With me today is Mr. Big Pod Energy, Andrew Erickson, and the big dog, because the big dog's got to eat from BDGE. It's Nick Ercolano joining us. Nick, welcome to the program, my friend. It's great to have you. How's the dog feeling today?
I'm feeling energetic. I mean, you passed that challenge with flying colors. It was a really good bark. You're the first person I think that's actually introduced me with the bark at the end and didn't make it sound absolutely insane. So that was a really good, really good opening. I feel like we're going to pick some real squads today.
Yes, we are, because we are picking in the Half-PPR mock draft episode, and we are celebrating the opening of the draft kit. Yes, it's that time. It's here at Fantasy Pros. I know you've all been waiting anxiously for it. Andrew Erickson has written 50,000 words on Jalen Tolbert alone. It is absolutely spectacular. It's over at fantasypros.com/kit. Andrew Erickson, I know you've been working diligently. All the team has. This is such a collaborative effort between you and Fitz and Debro and Friedman and Mayer and maybe, I don't know, like 100 other people who are dealing with this right now. We have a phenomenal team here. But the draft kit is available at fantasypros.com/kit. It's got the rankings for all the analysts there, the ADP, player profiles, the position primers. It's like your draft guide, your strategy guide. It's all the things you need to dominate your draft, because we always want to dominate the draft. It's very important to dominate, not win it, but dominate it. And look, the content is free, or at least some of it, but you're going to want to get the most out of this draft kit and become a subscriber, because when you do and you go premium, you're going to have access to all of the glory of the fantasy football draft kit. And Andrew Erickson, I have to imagine that's a pretty extensive bit of drafting situation that you could possibly hit your hands on there when you become a premium member. So, Andrew, how do you feel now that the kit is out? It's got to be some sort of relief for you, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a big relief, big project to get the initial, soft launch out. But then we know that the work doesn't stop, because there's going to be updates. The draft kit is not just this, okay, it's done, here in the middle of June, like we're never going to touch it again. It's like, no, like it's going to continue to grow, continue to improve, and continuing to have new content with it. So you're not just getting what the product is now, you're going to get what it's going to become. And it's be different in July, be different in August. I just did kicker analysis, so that's going to be added to it too, because someone had to do it. I volunteer to distribute, so I had to do it. So those will be included as well. So yeah, really excited about the final product, but this is really not the final product, because there's going to be more. So I'm excited for that too.
It's a living, breathing organism. And obviously, because you're the new guy, that's why you got stuck with kickers. That's just kind of what happens. Now, I know some of you are thinking, I'll just take the free, the free stuff at the draft kit. I'm good. But look, we want to encourage you to go deeper and do more here at Fantasy Pros. And we've got some amazing deposit offers available. So if you're somebody who's going to be playing DFS, if you're somebody who's going to be wagering this year because now it's legal in your state, whatever it might be, we've got amazing offers that are out there. So if you're not currently a subscriber and you're just trying to do that free thing, why don't you try to do a little bit more and get 12 months free of our Fantasy Pros premium features and content. That includes the fantasy football draft kit. That includes all the draft tools we have, the in-season roster management tools, where, I always talk about where you can manage all your different rosters from one spot of Fantasy Pros. Well, you can, and the DFS tools as well. All you have to do is go to fantasypros.com/offers, make a deposit at one of our partner sites. That's it. Go place a wager there. That's all you got to do. Go premium today at fantasypros.com/offers. And just like that, for playing fantasy football anyway, for going out there and making a couple wagers, having a little fun, you can go ahead and get 12 months free and get access to everything over there. That, my friends, is the deal of a lifetime. And of course, today we're going to be using our draft wizard to run this draft. I'm going to be drafting from the 5 spot today. Our new best friend, Nick, is going to draft from the 1 because he wanted to make it as easy as himself as possible. This is back-to-back guests, by the way, that took the 1. Nick, I just want to ask, why not the 2? Why you got to take the easy way out?
Yeah, so partly because you guys cornered me. You took the 6 and he took the 11 or 12. So I'm not going to go back to back with you guys. So I think basic human psychology made me float up towards the top. And then it was like, I could just take Jonathan Taylor and nobody can get mad at me, or I really have to put myself out on the line and take the number 2 and figure out who I want there. So yeah, maybe I took the little easy way out, but I would first and foremost blame you guys, and then I'll take like 10% of the blame afterwards.
It's really good. I really like that about you, Nick, already, that you are a man who is ready to take that blame and put it somewhere else rather than on himself before we even begin. This is really good stuff, man. But look, it's, who knows, maybe you won't take Jonathan Taylor. Anything is possible here. And that's why you are watching the draft on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/fantasypros. That's the ultimate mock draft show experience. Again, half PPR mock draft here. That's where we're going. So without further ado, let's kick things off here. We already talked about the draft kit. We already talked about the tools. We already talked about everything. Now it's time to put that aside and get going here. I love when we do the mock drafts. It's very fun. The whole board is here. Nick, before we go ahead and kick things off here as the timer's running down, is there any world where you wouldn't take Jonathan Taylor 1 overall?
No, he's just someone that I feel like invites such a good floor plus ceiling combination. It's one of those things that comes around. It doesn't come around often. And C-Mac's obviously the other player that can provide both of those things for you, but it's hard not to be a human being and still feel weird about Christian McCaffrey and like the situation he's put us in these last couple of years. Very easy to say, oh, the injuries were fluky, they're not predictive, but at some point after you've drafted him and been burnt by him a few times, if there's a player that's 95% of Christian McCaffrey, and that's what it feels like Jonathan Taylor kind of is, then I'm just going to take the safety valve there and grab this man who has proven year after year after year after year after year that he can handle 350 plus touches. And I don't see why he wouldn't do it again in 2022. So for that reason, the 101 is going to Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor is done. Derrick Henry goes next. Obviously, we're drafting against the Joe Bot because the Joe Bot took Derrick Henry at 2. I'm just guessing already. I don't know who this is that we're drafting against in the robots, but there's a chance it could be. McCaffrey goes 3rd, then Austin Eckler. That comes to me. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start this draft with a wide receiver because I continue to push that narrative, and that's the way I'm going. The question is which one? Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I like all of them. I like the volume probably the most of the Cooper Kupp. I will say this, though. To me, they are razor thin. I am just as happy getting Jamar Chase down at 10 or 11 as I am getting Cooper Kupp here at 5, so I don't see a huge difference. But because the draft wizard is telling me it's a 78% experts are saying do this, I am also going to fall into the similar peer pressure that Nick discussed. But again, can't go wrong with Cooper Kupp. I will take him over at the 5. I got the top player. I got the guns out, which is clearly the emoji is inspired by the guns of Andrew Erickson. Dalvin Cook goes right after, then Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase. Big Pot Energy, you are up next, my friend.
Yes, I am on the clock, and I wanted to pick from the back of the first round because this is not where I've really picked a lot, whether I'm doing best ball drafts or the mock drafts. I've kind of always been either in the middle or towards the beginning, so I wanted to kind of see how things were laid out in this particular draft, and could go a lot of different ways here. And
you regretting that you regretting that choice?
I mean, I think I definitely like picking in the middle of the first round, just kind of as I look at the board now, because it's usually pretty obvious for me. But for here, I'm going to go with what the draft wizard is recommending to me and following my own rankings here. So I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift.
All right, DeAndre Swift there. So we'll see if Swift can stay healthy and become that dude. This is the Joe territory. I like to be down at the bottom of the draft there, taking my wide receivers all I can. Stephon Diggs goes at the turn, and then to start 201, Devontae Adams. Again, sounds like the Joe Bot today, boys and girls. Next year, you're back up again. And Andrew, I want to commend you for not taking the back-to-back picks, making it even more challenging for yourself there, taking the 11 spot. So go ahead, Andrew. Who are you taking for your second pick?
Yeah, that's one I feel a little bit better about. I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb. He's a player that I've always kind of been gravitating towards. I mean, I've seen in some best ball drafts, some mocks where he's going in the first round now with CeeDee Lamb. People are ready to kind of make him going from good to great, and he hasn't done it yet. But I mean, the stage is set for CeeDee Lamb to take that significant third-year leap, even though it is kind of already baked into his price. But you just look at the offense that he's in, super fast offensive pace of play, passing attack. He's the clear number 1 receiver. So it should be wheels up for CeeDee Lamb. So I like him in the second round.
All right. So after you took CeeDee Lamb, can't argue that, Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara, Antonio Gibson, and Aaron Jones. I am up next with 25 seconds. Leonard Fournette, the number 1 running back on the board here. Draft Wizard also showing me some of the premium tight ends. Look, as much as I love Leonard Fournette and Saquon Barkley is interesting, I'm going to take another wide receiver. It's between Evans and Debo for me. I feel like Evans is the safer one, so I'm going to go ahead and take Debo and have a little bit of fun as my second wide receiver. We'll see how that goes. I have concerns. He's not going to get as many carries. I know. We all know. But can he still be a very useful fantasy player? I think so. And as my second wide receiver here with Cooper Kupp, I'll take that shot. So I am building again with the wide receivers pretty much, I don't know, 2 of the first 3 picks, wherever we go. That's just how I feel right now. After Debo, Mike Evans goes right after me to taunt me. Again, the Joe Bot clearly in play today. AJ Brown next, Travis Kelce at 211. Nick, you're on the board for 212 and 301.
Okay. So I'm going to do something. It's usually my strategy in fantasy drafts to go pretty running back heavy, and I'm actually going to continue to beat on this drum here. So we're going to go with Leonard Fournette first.
Oh, look at
and then
you.
at the 301, we will take Saquon. And I'll talk through both of them real quickly.
Good.
For a lot of the same reason, I mean, this is kind of weird, I guess, to compare the two, but you were talking about CeeDee Lamb. I would say with Leonard Fournette, you just look at the situation objectively. I like Rachaad White. He's an athletic player, but he's also a rookie playing with Tom Brady, who has absolutely no leash to his game right now. If he messes things up once, he's probably off the field for half the season. So we have Leonard Fournette, who took over as a workhorse second half of last year. This is a top 5 scoring offense in the league. I think possibly number one of the fastest paced offenses in the league. They also throw the ball at a rate, which is crazy because you look at a lot of teams that throw the ball at a really high rate. A lot of the reasons they do that are because they're trailing. This team led the league in passing rate despite being ahead on every opponent that they played against. And their short game, like Brady kind of transferred over what he did in New England to Tampa Bay, and that they just don't use the run game. What their run game is short passes to their running back. Right. And over the last 8 games of the season, Fournette averaged like 7.5 targets per game. And now you look at Antonio Brown being gone. You look at Chris Godwin probably missing the first, month of the season or so. And what that's going to mean is more dump offs to a guy like Leonard Fournette. So all 3 downs, goal line work, pass catching work. Saquon Barkley, I'm just not ready to let go of the talent. In the 3rd round, I'm here for this type of upside. I could understand if someone gets mad if he's like the 202, the 205, but in the 3rd round, I'm ready to pull the trigger on him because if he could be on the field, man, he'll get 20 touches a game, and any given touch he gets will give you the chance to take it to the yard, man. So I'm in on Barkley.
Third running back. Not just 3rd round, but your 3rd running back. I mean, that is a risk you can actually take all day long. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree with that sentiment. I'm kind of annoyed at you. I got to be honest with you, Nick. I mean, we might not be friends because I was hoping I'd get Barkley or Connor or somebody like that or Fournette, and you just basically drown the pool. So now I'm gonna, I'm swimming for my life here. James Conner 302, Tyreek Hill 303, Mark Andrews 304. Would have contemplated Andrews. Now I'm looking at the running backs: David Montgomery, Akers, Elliott, and Hall. Although it's telling me to take David Montgomery, I'm not going to listen because I'm not going to believe in the Bears offense as much as the Rams. So it looks like I'm going for a little Rams stack here. So Cam Akers, Cooper Kupp, let's go. After that selection here by me of Cam Akers, T. Higgins goes at 306. Then Keenan Allen, Zeke, Josh Allen at 309. Definitely the Joe Bot here, folks. 310, Michael Pittman right before you. That one's got to sting, Andrew. That one's got to hurt.
Yep, that one, Michael Pittman's usually just my auto pick in the 3rd rounds of all the drafts that I do. So it hurts to see him off the board here, but I can take somebody else that I like a lot in these middle rounds. One of the few running backs I think that can actually kind of overcome this RB dead zone as it's been coined. So I'm going to go with Breece Hall here for the New York Jets. Just think that he's a guy that should get the workload of a running back that should finish in the top 15. And right now, the only reason he's being kind of put in this zone is because he's a rookie. He's unproven. So we're going to put the guys that have produced in the NFL before ahead of him. But when we're talking next year, Breece Hall could be in the top 2 rounds.
Yeah. Easily. And clearly I am the robot now because I have stuck it to you again. Not only did I take Pittman right before you, but then Montgomery and your boy Cortland Sutton went right before. This is hilarious. I couldn't have planned this any better. I want to see how you pivot off this one now at 402. No Sutton, no Pittman. Where do you go?
I have a rule with Kyle Pitts, and if he falls to the 4th round, that I have to take him. That's my rule with Kyle Pitts. Just look, he's one of the few guys that I'll break my rule of just targeting offenses that I think are elite, top 10 offenses, especially with my premium picks. But Kyle Pitts is a unicorn in the way that not just how he plays on the field, but the fact that he is a wide receiver that you can put in your tight end slot, and he's going to get targets. At the end of the day, I know it may not be the most efficient. Marcus Mariota, I did watch a highlight video of him earlier, yesterday, and I was like, maybe he could get it done with Kyle Pitts. But I think that Pitts at least is the talent is there with him, and he's someone that I'd be willing to take. I've seen him go in the 3rd round, so to see him go in the 4th round here, I like the value.
All right. After that, Mahomes, Waddle, Deontay Johnson, George Kittle, and DK Metcalf. That comes up to me right now. And again, when we're in the half PPR setting, what I'm looking for is touchdowns. That's what I'm looking for in my running back. I want carries. I want touchdowns. If they give me a little bit of passing, that's okay too in terms of reception. But I'm going to go ahead and take J.K. Dobbins here. Stay with an offense that I feel pretty good about. So look, I took my 2 wide receivers. I took Kupp, I took Debo. Then I went ahead and I took Cam Akers. Good offense, right? Hopefully touchdown equity. Took J.K. Dobbins, a team that's committed to run the football. Hopefully some touchdown equity there as well. DJ Moore went next at 409. Eli Mitchell at 410. I think that's way too early for him. 411, Terry McLaurin. And then Nick, you're on the clock for 412 and 501.
Okay, this is an interesting spot. Had I not gone with the running back here, there are a couple names. Actually, there's probably like 1 or 2 names on the list I would like. But since I did, I'm going to put together a little stack here. So we're going to take the Chargers.
Okay.
We're going to go
Nice.
with Justin Herbert and Mike Williams. I mean, we have this 24-year-old kid coming into his prime, coming off of a 5,000-yard passing season in an offense that goes for it on 4th down religiously, in an offense that's one of the fastest pace in the NFL, an offense that's top 5 in scoring. Again, you could see a theme from the team that I'm building here is I just want players on really good offenses. And Mike Williams is the guy who, when they get down by the red zone, like, he's who they're going to look for. He's their downfield threat. Keenan Allen is what Keenan Allen is at that point. I want pass catchers attached to the guy who's about to throw for 5,000 yards. And what happens if Herbert has his touchdown season this year, right? He had 35 or 40 last year. What if he ups that a little bit? Like, those are going to trickle over to Mike Williams. So it was like a tale of 2 seasons for Mike Williams last year. But, you know, most people try to predict consistency in fantasy. You just don't get consistency from a lot of players. So if you're going to tell me Mike Williams is going to finish as a wide receiver 15, I think you take the good with the bad. You take the targets that are really highly valuable and a really high-paced, high-scoring offense. And I absolutely love Mike Williams if he's dropping to the 5th round as my wide receiver 1.
Well, look, it's also the way you're constructing this team is it's built off the consistency of the running back touches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have 3 number 1 running backs on your team, right? In theory, at least, you hope. And because that's where the consistency is coming from, I think you can live with a little bit of the inconsistencies from Mike Williams because you do have the upside, and that's what you're looking for. I'm curious to see how you build the rest of this wide receiver core going forward. And then, of course, stacking it with Herbert makes a ton of sense because if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. And are you somebody that tends to get a lot of the early quarterback? Is this like your platform where you'll go Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, and then let it go? Or you just kind of quarterback at the value of wherever's on the board?
Not typically. Most of the leagues I play in now are super flex, so the draft board gets way more wonky than what we're doing here for one quarterback league. Normally, I would go. I would probably wait and grab like a Tom Brady, a Russell Wilson, someone in the quarterback like 9 to 12 range in the 8th, 9th round, and not really worry about it. But I'm way higher on Mike Williams than getting him at the 412. So I thought the stack was kind of just like perfect. Didn't want to think too hard about it. There are not a lot of players that I absolutely love still on the board. So I was like, Justin Herbert's going to be a piece that I could stick into my lineup, feel super good about it for the entirety of the year. And, it is what it is. And he's going to score a ton of points. So not my typical strategy, but I'm not upset about it whatsoever.
No, every league should be super flex, Nick. Just, as far as I'm concerned. All right,
you're
coming back to me
over here.
Hey, look, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. We have to keep the masses happy too, but we'll have super flex drafts coming up also. Amari Cooper goes at 502, 503. Rashad Bateman, then Josh Jacobs slides to 504. Looking out here, in terms of running backs that move the needle for me, I like Travis Etienne a lot. I worry about how much scoring equity they have when it comes to the half here. Again, to me, it's all about touchdowns. So for me, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take Darren Waller here because I think that's a good, there's that drop off there. I love Dalton Schultz too, but I'll go ahead and take Waller here, which is at 505, I think a pretty good value. Michael Thomas goes after, then Godwin, Allen Robinson, Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 1. To me, all those guys are kind of in that same conversation where they are all talented. They all have questions to a certain degree. Big pot energy. Andrew Erickson, you're up for the 511.
Yes, I'm going to go back to getting offenses that I believe in, not necessarily Jets and Falcons. So I don't want to overflow my roster with too many of those types of players. I'm going to go with Marquise Brown here. He's on the Arizona Cardinals. I think that he just has a really good opportunity to start the season on fire. If he's the number 1 guy there for the Cardinals without Hopkins, I think that you deal with Marquise Brown, his production the first 6 weeks, and then when Hopkins comes back, you kind of figure it out from there. But I think you're going to get a really solid start of production from Marquise Brown to open the season. And then back on the clock at 6.
After Travis Etienne and Drake London go 512, 611, you are back on the clock. Yes. Go ahead. Who are you taking here?
Correct. Could go quarterback here.
Hemming and hawing. That's very nice, Andrew. You're actually doing both of them at the same time. It's spectacular.
Oh, man, it's telling me to take a quarterback, but I want to take Kirk Cousins later on because the draft wizard always tells me I should have waited to take Kirk every time. It's like just wait and take Kirk Cousins in round 12 and your team's looking better. And I'm like,
will you
all right,
please?
fine. Like whatever. So I'm gonna go with Darnell Mooney here. More wide receiver.
Very nice.
More wide receiver. Again, I think Justin Fields is underrated. I think that the whole Bears situation, I think people look at it as this is going to be like a disaster. And I just think Justin Fields is good. I mean, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I liked what I saw from him last year. And people are writing him off because he only has, a third-year tight end that's kind of up and coming, and then a wide receiver that's commanded a 25% target share last year. And they look at him like he has literally nothing to work with. It's like, well, Mooney's pretty good. And I think Cole Kmet could be something too. So I'll go with Mooney.
All right. And look, you know how we all feel about that. It's he can be good. Justin Fields certainly can be good. There's a scenario you can write, and he showed it in college. There's no doubt about that. It's just got to be starting to get the confidence and the refinement of the skill set at the top level. Hawkinson, Juju, Tom Brady, Miles Sanders, Lamar Jackson. I was hoping for Lamar. I did not get Lamar. I'm not happy about that. I'm going to go with some RB depth because my boy is still out there. AJ Dillon, staying on brand. I got the thumbs up from the Draft Wizard. Thank you, Draft Wizard. Your thumbs up, your emojis mean a lot to me. It helps my self-esteem. I really enjoy that. When I get that, it makes me feel good. Joe Burrow going. This is clearly the quarterback round. 6'10", DeAndre Hopkins. Too early for Hopkins at 6 games being missed. In my opinion, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6'11". Nick, you're on the clock. Last pick of the 6th, first pick of the 7th.
Yeah, I really wanted Amon-Ra there, but I guess if I'm just going to take a wide receiver 2 and a terrible offense, I'll pivot over to Elijah Moore.
There you go. That was the best possible breakdown of that scenario you could have given, Nick. That was fantastic.
I just feel like sometimes we start to overthink these sophomore wide receivers. Coming into the year, we like to nitpick, and I think you can easily make the case like against Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's like he did a lot of his damage at the end of the year when Hawkinson was missing time, when DeAndre Swift was missing time, the volume was there. James, you could overthink it, but also there aren't a ton of rookies that really break out the way they did. And for the most part, if a rookie breaks out at the wide receiver position, they tend to kind of prolong that statistical success for a few years into their career. So Elijah Moore, I do think Garrett Wilson will be the one there, but he showed me enough last year to show me that he could play inside, outside. I don't know if you guys use like Matt Harmon's reception perception as a resource,
sure,
but he is like a dominant route runner, separator versus man, press, zone. So I'm in on Elijah Moore just as a player himself. And I'm going to surpass some of the upside here and go with a little more safety
10 seconds
rather than like a Gabriel Davis kind of guy, and go with Adam Thielen because I am clearly hurting at the wide receiver position. Thielen is a guy who's consistent, will be involved in the red zone for a long time. And with this Vikings offense, like all we've heard all offseason is how they're going to be a little bit more spread out, how they're going to run a little bit more of like a pass-heavy offense this year, which Thielen might just be what he is at this point, someone who's kind of on the decline and over the age apex, as people like to say. But I do think Minnesota will go a little more pass-heavy. They'll stop giving Dalvin Cook 25 carries a game, and that will float over to, mainly Justin Jefferson getting like 19 targets a game. But Adam Thielen feels like someone who could, again, just finish with 8 touchdowns, and you'll be happy with him as your wide receiver 3, 4 kind of guy.
There you go. Adam Thielen goes to you. Then Hunter Renfrow goes next, one of my favorite value guys. Kyler Murray at 703. Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 704. I'm sure Andrew Erickson loved that pick. He loves 704. He needs a 10-foot pole.
This is literally the worst round.
I know it is.
So gross. It's like, I don't want anyone.
Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to, look, I wanted Lamar Jackson. He went the pick right before me. Kyler Murray, I'm still off of this year. I'm going to do it. Oh, I'm doing it. I did it. It's Jalen Hurts. I'm going to go ahead and take Jalen Hurts here with the 705 pick. Then 706, Treylon Burks goes next. Dak Prescott, 707. Damien Harris at 08. Ken Walker at 709. Tyler Lockett, 710. Andrew Erickson, you're up next. You're on the clock for 711.
Yep. So I'm going to go with a guy that Nick mentioned earlier. I'm going to go with the upside with Gabriel Davis because now, this price here at the end of the 7th round, it's crazy how different he could be going, in this particular mock draft versus some of the best ball drafts that you can do either on Underdog or on DraftKings, where Gabriel Davis is like a top 40 pick. Like he's a guy that goes like in the 4th round, and it's going to be interesting when people do their normal redraft leagues where he actually ends up going. So I think that right here, I just can't pass up on Gabriel Davis.
Hey, look, that was the only other guy I was considering there. And I could have let it go one more time, but because it's Hurts and I do think he's going to have top 5 fantasy value. Again, might be ugly sometimes, fantasy value. That's the only reason I didn't take Davis. And I also had 2 number ones, in my opinion. And that's, again, it's all about the roster construction. It's about where you are in the draft, how the draft falls to you. But I think Davis at 7-11 is fantastic value. Dalton Schultz goes 7-12. Oh, you're so close to pulling off the double dip there, Erickson. Matthew Stafford at 801, 802. Now where do you go?
I'm going to go back to the running back position with one of my favorite guys to kind of hit in this round 8, round 9 round is Kareem Hunt. I think that, Hunt before he got hurt last year, he was a top 10 running back in fantasy. And it just seems like we've kind of all forgotten. Like last year, he was being way overdrafted. Like he was going like round 5. And I don't really see, obviously there are question marks about what's going on in Cleveland right now, but Kareem Hunt has a lot of outs where he could get traded. What if Cam Akers blows out his Achilles again? Who do you think that the Rams are going to go and get? Probably a guy like Kareem Hunt, someone that's already shown that he can lead the league in rushing, someone that can be a pass catcher, and someone that's still young. So I think that Kareem Hunt is someone I love taking flyers on when we get outside of the first 8 rounds.
All right, for me, looking at the board right now, I can go with another running back, get a little depth at that position there, and I think I'm going to. And I'm going to go ahead and take it with Tony Pollard. Devin Singletary went right before me. It went Hunt to you, then Gordon, Devontae Smith, nice value there, Garrett Wilson, Patterson, and Singletary. I really wanted Singletary. 1 pick before me. Got another value pick. Got lots of thumbs going up. This is a very exciting time to be alive. Brandon Ayuk goes next. Mike Carter at 8:10, then 8:11. Aaron Rodgers goes. Nick, you're on the clock for 8:12 and the start of the 9.
Yeah, it's a tough spot because I still need to continue probably grabbing wide receiver depth here because it's obviously my shallowest position. There's so much more upside at the running back position left, but I'm kind of forced to play the cards of a pass catcher. So I'm going to be looking at I'm in love with this man, not from a fantasy football perspective.
Look, man, love is love, Nick. I mean, it's okay.
I'm a big Kadarius Toney guy this year. There's just not a lot of dudes that presented themselves on the field the way that he did last year and shows you like how many rookies bust off 170, 165 yard receiving game. Very
exciting moment
with Mike Glennon as his quarterback.
Yeah, man. If you can do that, I'm fine rolling the dice. Listen, he might play 8 games this year. I am so okay being the person that tries to draft him for that upside and missing out completely on it because the other guys available, Christian Kirk, Robert Woods coming back from the ACL, Lazard, Gage, Gallup, a lot. Like none of them really have upside the way that Kadarius Toney was. So I'm fine with him as my 4. If he hits, it's a huge plug into my lineup. And then I'll probably move over to the tight end position.
10 seconds.
I really like Dallas Goedert, but now they had AJ Brown. And I think I'm going to go the opposite way with Zach Ertz, who he loses.
Oh, with 1 second left. Did you get it in?
There will be no auto drafting from me in this draft, Joe. Zach Ertz, man, he was an absolute target vacuum when he came over to Arizona last year. Like only Kelsey and Andrews averaged more targets per game, receiving yards per game than him at the tight end position. And now you have DeAndre Hopkins out for 6 games. Like Chase Edmonds gone, Christian Kirk gone. So you have a lot of opportunity going on in Arizona there. I know he's not exciting, but I think the targets are going to come by, and that's not something you could say with a lot of the tight ends.
Hey, man, you just took Tony. You have your exciting guy. You have Mike Williams. You have a lot of exciting.
All the excitement I need for my entire team.
That's a lot of excitement, especially at this hour. All right, going through here, Buffalo goes next at 9:02, then Chase Edmonds at 9:03. Chris Olave, one of my favorites again. All right, 9:04. Really wanted him, didn't get him. I will make an argument that I do think there's a little bit more upside with one of these guys, and it's actually Allen Lazard. And I'm going to go ahead and draft him here because, again, as much as I like Kirk, I've still got to take that leap of faith that Trevor Lawrence is going to make a nice step here. And I do believe Kirk can be a useful fantasy player this year. And anytime in this 9th, 10th round, he's a great value. But Lazard is playing with Aaron Rodgers. And although I have personal issues with Aaron Rodgers over the years, he and I don't speak anymore, I do believe that Allen Lazard right now, you'd have to be a moron not to see that there's a path here for Allen Lazard to be a very good, solid wide receiver who's been in the system for a while. Continuing on here, Christian Kirk goes directly after. See, I told you, Robert Woods, Jacoby Myers, Sky Moore. Oh my God, the Joe bot again, strikes again. Man, 9-10, Rashad Penny, Andrew Erickson, 9-11. You're on the clock with 20 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson here for the New England Patriots. I mean, Stevenson carved out like a 50-50 role with Damian Harris towards the second half of last year. And the fact that Stevenson was able to basically fumble his way into the doghouse as a rookie, basically be non-factor and then get out and be one of the more productive running backs for the New England Patriots in the entire NFL during the second half of the year, it just shows a lot of the guy's talent. And I think that if Damian Harris were to go down, Stevenson has shown that he can be used as a receiver, like something we haven't seen yet from Damian Harris. James White, there's still question marks about, is he healthy? Like, is he coming back? Like, what's the deal with James White? So I think Stevenson, I labeled him, I'm not sure exactly what video it was, but I talked about him being a priority running back for me once you get near the double-digit round. So went with Stevenson there, so I felt good about that.
15 seconds for your second pick, Andrew.
Russell Gage. So another value kind of pick here. And I think that it's important to denote, Nick talked about mentioning Russell Gage versus Kadarius Toney. And I think that the sky high upside is definitely with Toney. Toney's either going to be like a top 15 wide receiver or someone that just is going to be on the waiver wire. Like, you don't know what's going to happen with where Russell Gage, you can feel pretty good and confident about, okay, if Chris Godwin doesn't open the season, he's on IR or on the PUP list. You feel good about sliding in Gage as your wide receiver 3 every single week with Tom Brady as his quarterback. But then when Chris Godwin comes back, okay, Gage's role is going to diminish a little bit and you're not going to necessarily use him. Not necessarily someone that's going to be a game breaker for you, but someone that's a value, especially if you drafted a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. So whoever took DeAndre Hopkins in the 6th round, shame on you. You should have drafted Russell Gage.
Wow. You just publicly shame the draft wizard? That stuff can get you fired around here.
I publicly shamed Team 3, which was
just Team 3. All right. Well, at least you cleared up that scenario here. Alexander Madison went to end the 9th round, then Chris Carson the 10th. Then Andrew took Russell Gage, followed by James Cook going, Jarvis Landry, Chase Claypool, Tampa D, Michael Gallup at 10:07. I'm up for the 10:08. And then there comes a point in time in every man's life or woman's life where you look at the board and you don't like what you see. And this is where we're at. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draft talent. I'm going to draft Jameson Williams because to me, he was the most talented wide receiver. The ACL injury aside, sure, that's a concern. That's why you're getting the value here. But we're talking bench now. So I've got my starting group, and I got Tony Pollard, my extra running back. I'm going to swing for the fences here. I want a little bit more fun and excitement in my life. Maybe I don't have enough. So I'm going to go ahead and take Williams here. After that, the next guy on my queue went directly after Isaiah Spiller. Not too happy about that. Of course, I got to reach on Jameson Williams. I don't care. I want him on my roster. Galladay at 10:10, Nyheim Hines at 10:11. Nick, you are up on the clock for 10:12 and 11:01.
Yeah, I really wanted Isaiah Spiller there, but since he's off the board, I think we're just going to roll with the running backs I took up top and take a guy who's another safe play, almost like a backup plan for Adam Thielen, or could end up being the guy who plays over Adam Thielen. But both those guys I feel really good about, putting up 8 points a game or something like that, and then having their touchdown weeks once every 2 or 3 weeks and putting me, 14, 15 in my flex spot. So Tyler Boyd, just you want to attach yourself to as many Cincinnati Bengals as humanly possible this year. It's not like the game plan with a guy like Tyler Boyd. And I'm going to double down on tight ends, actually. I am going to go with, I don't know if I should go with Goddard or Knox here. I like both of them. They're both kind of in the same tier for me. I feel more confident in Goddard as a player, so I'm going to run that back with him. And I don't typically go with the 2 tight ends, but I feel pretty good about both those guys that one of them will hit and be, a top 6 or 7 guy that I could slot into my lineup. And waiting till rounds 9 and 11, I feel like is worth the price on that.
All right. After Goddard goes, Henderson, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who I'd probably just mercy pick there myself, but instead he goes. Rondell Moore, 11:04, another mercy pick there. Would probably have gone that way. I guess it's time for the homer pick for me because I really don't like too much else here on this board currently. Looking at the bench right now, I'm sure I could use another running back potentially, but once again, not too thrilled at this point in time. I don't want Ronald Jones on my roster. I don't want to have that conversation with Andrew again. So let's do Devontae Parker instead, who, look, is he going to play a lot of games? No. Is he going to be good when he does play? Probably. So that sounds like a wide receiver 4 to me, or a 5. So there you go. Perfect spot there for him. So I will go ahead and take him. After that, then you get Ronald Jones going to 11:06, DJ Chark at 11:07. Then you've got Christian Watson at 8, Corey Davis at 9, followed by Trey Sermon, a Trey Sermon sighting. God, my goodness, what a fantastic moment that is. 11:11, make a wish, Andrew. What you got?
I wish to get someone on the Buccaneers because I like good offenses. So I'm going to go with Rachaad White here, rookie running back. I know Nick mentioned him earlier when talking about Leonard Fournette. And hey, if Leonard Fournette, if he doesn't come back down to Slim Lenny by the time August hits, then maybe Rachaad White will have a bigger role. So I'll roll with him.
Tell me, man. It doesn't matter if he's chubby or not. He can get the job done. Don't worry about the chubby running backs. James Robinson goes. George Pickens goes. Now at 12:02, Andrew Erickson, you go.
I mean, I still have to draft a quarterback, and yet Kirk Cousins is not the best available quarterback on the board. I was trying to wait to draft Kirk Cousins, but there are some other quarterbacks I still prefer over him. So I'm just going to grab Russell Wilson here. I love the weapons that he has. I like the opening schedule. I mean, he opens the season against the Seahawks. I think that we'll see him cook during the start of the year. So go with Russ.
All right, there you go. Food Network time for Andrew Erickson. Then you have after Erickson, then you have Van Jefferson at 12:03, Dawson Knox at 12:04, Pat Fryermuth 12:05, Tim Patrick 12:06, sneaky good pick there, potentially at least. 12:07, Mike Gesicki. That puts me on the board. Let's take some more rookies. Why not? Let's have some fun. Let's go, Jahan Dotson. Like the dynasty team I'm building here today, even though it's not a dynasty draft. But look, it's a young man's game. At least that's what I've been told by Andrew, who keeps telling me to get out of it because I'm too old. And I keep telling him no. Damian Pierce at 12:09, Rob Gronkowski 12:10, Mecole Hardman 12:11. Nick, you're on the clock for 12:12 and 13:01. Excuse me.
Yeah, first of all, seeing Russ go in the 12th round and then me looking at my Justin Herbert 7 rounds earlier, it absolutely kills me. Like knowing that you could wait that long and still get Russ, who's going to be awesome this year in Denver, is just heartbreaking. And then Damian Pierce going off, who's my RB3 in the class as a rookie, also killed me. 12:09. So I'm up 3 picks later, and like I don't see a lot of players I'm in love with here. I like Khalil Herbert a lot, but I don't know if he has an actual path to any touches outside of a David Montgomery injury. I do think that
10 seconds.
Tyler Algier, I'm not in love with him as a player. He's gone to my Atlanta Falcons where we got rid of Mike Davis. So I don't know if if the chances of him actually getting this opportunity are high whatsoever, but he does have a chance to impress in preseason and in the summer and take over a pretty, fruitful, at least from a volume standpoint, workload. So I'll go with Tyler Algier there. And he's someone I won't have to put in my lineup right away. Most rookies tend to kind of break out over the second half of the year if they're not first round picks. So it takes them, 8-10 weeks to get acclimated or at least get playing time. And hopefully by then Saquon is, still on the field, but decent chance he's not. And that's when maybe Algier can kind of fit into my lineup. Then we're sitting here with wide receivers still floating back and forth.
15 seconds.
It's ugly down here. It is ugly.
Yes, it is.
You know what?
10 seconds.
I'm just gonna double dip then. I'll go with my boy Khalil Herbert.
I like that, man. Herbert was on my list too because you saw it last year. You saw he can do it. The Bears are always going to run the football. I love it. Dante Foreman goes at 13:02. Kenneth Gainwell 13:03. Indianapolis Colts 13:04. I am up next here. So what to do? You know what I'm going to do? Even though I took Jalen Hurts and that's really exciting potentially, what if he gets hurt? When do I want to take another chance at another running quarterback who might be a top 6-7 guy potentially in fantasy? Let's take a shot at Trey Lance and see what happens, shall we? Let's see. Let's just get the talent on the roster because at this point, like you guys said, it's ugly out there. So why am I breaking myself to go ahead and take players that I don't want on my roster when I could take talent that I do and then just worry about the waiver wire later? Raheem Mostert, Gus Edwards, Sony Michel, Marlon Mack, JD McKissick, 13:11. Andrew Erickson, you're on the clock.
Yeah, okay. I know what I'm doing here. Finally, we're in round 14. I'm figuring it out.
It only took you 14 rounds to figure it out, but I'm glad you did.
I'm going to go with a rookie running back on a team that every year there's these just efficient running backs just come out of the woodwork. And I'm going to go with Tyrion Davis-Price for the 49ers.
Oh.
We saw Elijah Mitchell get banged up at the end of last year. He's a little bit undersized. And look, if you just look historically back at these Shanahan running backs, the best running back in fantasy is never the first one drafted off the board, except Carlos Hyde. Like he was the only guy that was able to do that. So Davis-Price going, when did Mitchell go? Like you said, he went early, like in the 5th round.
Oh, way too early. Yeah, something like that. I remember saying that's too early. That's how I'll look it up, find it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like floored by Davis-Price as a prospect. I thought it was actually a really shocking pick, but he has a chance to get an opportunity as a 3rd-round running back, and I'm willing to take that risk at the price that I have to pay of a 13th round pick.
Yeah, 4:11 is where he went. All right, Andrew, 20 seconds for your next pick. Who you got?
I'm going to go with a DST, I think, or I don't even know.
While you're thinking, Deshaun Watson goes at 13-12, Jamal Williams at 14-01, and then you took your defense, the Cleveland Browns defense. That's not a bad pick there at all. You feel good about that? You feel strong, buddy?
They have one of the best schedules to open the year. Like, so anytime you're drafting a DST, like Cleveland is always the one I want. I know that everyone's talking about their offense, but their defense is still really good, and that shouldn't be affected necessarily by however the quarterback play is. And yeah, they're playing a really easy slate to open the year. So I think they'll be a DST that you want to have.
All right. Hunter Henry, Mark Ingram, Darrell Williams, who I was hoping make back to me. He did not. Justin Fields, then the Dallas Cowboys defense. I'll take the 49ers defense. Just grab a defense here. Kendrick Bourne, Irv Smith Jr., Derek Carr, 14-11. And Nick is back on the clock for his last two picks.
Yeah, so I'll roll with you guys, and I guess I have to take a defense as one of my picks here. Typically, I'm on the waiver wire for defenses, but I'll try to look at whoever has the first a week one matchup that's kind of enticing, and then you can kind of figure it out from there. So we have New Orleans plays Atlanta. We have Philly, who just has an overall easy defense to start. They play Minnesota week 2, but then they get the Commanders and the Jaguars. So I think 3 out of their first 4 matchups are pretty easy. They've also bolstered their defense a little bit this year. I know there's some good ones still on the board, but like the Rams play the Bills week 1. I'm not even sure who the Patriots play week 1. They play Miami. That's probably where I should go if I'm going to be smart. Yeah, we'll go with New England there.
All right, New England it is. Correctly. And then 15-01. There you go. New England comes through. 15-01. Nick, who's the next pick?
15-01. Yeah, I don't have to back up Herbert as a quarterback. Plus, there's no high upside guys like Trey Lance kind of sitting there. Andrew, I'll let Kirk Cousins fall to you. I'm a good guy like that. So we'll go back to the wide receiver position, and there's not much to like here. There's really almost nothing to like here. But I'm going to draft someone that I have not touched at all. And I think there's like literally no excitement around him. But it's Jamison Crowder on the off chance that Gabriel Davis is not the 2, right? They've got rid of most of the weapons this offseason, Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley and those guys. So he fits in right there. If Gabriel Davis, just for whatever reason, is not the 2, Crowder's walking away from this year with 100 targets, no doubt about it. And it's Josh Allen targets. So I'm kind of in on that as a 15th round pick.
Because I seem to have a love of guys who are coming off knee surgeries. Odell Beckham is still out there, and I'm thinking about him here. Also thinking about KJ Osborne, but since I already have Williams, I think it's probably smarter to just go ahead and take Osborne, who I'm going to troll your Adam Thielen pick and hedge my bets there with the younger wide receiver, who I guess, again, last pick. This is kind of like last year. I just took Gabriel Davis with my last pick in every draft. Kind of doing the same thing with Osborne here. So I'm going to go ahead and select him. Did it go through? Why did it not go through? There it is. Come on, let's go. You can do it. There you go, Draft Wizard. Draft Wizard sometimes needs a little nudge once in a while. It's okay. Go ahead.
Sorry to jump in, but you're talking about Odell. And one note that I think people probably need to know is that the typical timeline, right? Most people throw out like 9 to 12 months for that ACL. Re-tearing it the second time around, the timeline for that is actually different. It gets pushed back an extra 3 months, medically speaking. So you're looking at 12 to 15 months before he's actually probably on the field. That happened at the very end of the year. So I would advise most people to just completely avoid Odell. Even in the 15th round, I don't think it's worth taking a shot and having him sit on your roster.
It's good advice. That's why I listened to it before you even told me. It's good stuff.
I wanted to let you make a fool of yourself.
Well, I'm sorry I disappointed you. What else is new? Palmer, Miami, Tua, then KJ Osborne, Cole Kmet, nice value there. Odell did go to 1507. That team is the one you're embarrassing. 1508, New Orleans, Kansas City. The Rams, Big Pot Energy, close us out here with the last pick.
I'm going to go with a guy that doesn't have a team but is not coming off any injuries. I'm going to go with Julio Jones. And we'll see where he ends up. I mean,
look at that.
His value can only increase at this point unless he never gets signed, but he ends up going to a contender. His efficiency numbers weren't as bad as everyone would like to say, just kind of like looking at him from the lens of a Titans wide receiver too. So we'll see. We'll see what Julio can do.
All right, there you have it. Draft Wizard said I'm mediocre today. I like this team actually for half PPR for sure. 76 out of 100. I got a C. I'm sure it likes your team much better than mine, Nick. So what would the Draft Wizard grade you at?
Yeah, we got an A, 93 out of 100. No surprises whatsoever. You know, we're projected to get second place here, which means I'm probably going to finish in second to last place.
There you go. That's probably true. I'll probably finish in first. Big Pot Energy, you finished in the middle. What was your grade?
Yes, I finished with a B, 84 out of 100. So, yeah, just solid. You know, B's get degrees, guys. So I'm good.
Well,
There you go.
I knew my draft was bad here when I looked and it said Mike Mayer, Fantasy Pros, liked my draft more than any other expert. So right off the bat, I've got to go back to the well here. But in all honesty, we're going to go through these, and obviously we like the expert opinions. They're fun. It says that I gave myself an A-. So I guess Mike Mayer is not as bad as I thought he was. Instead, I give myself a 91. He actually gave me a 92. I take back all the bad things I said about Mike. The people did not like my draft. I actually don't know a lot of these people. So I think it's all right. As long as I know Michael Hoff, he didn't like it. He gave me a D+. So I'll take my medicine for Michael. He's a good dude. But look, as long as Joe Pisapia gives Joe Pisapia a good grade, then Joe Pisapia can sleep at night. Andrew Erickson, how about you in terms of expert opinions? Who gave you the thumbs up and who gave you the thumbs down?
Yeah, so actually somebody graded me higher than myself. I gave myself a 98, and Smitty from Sleeper U actually gave me a 99 out of 100. So
Salt of the earth.
Yeah,
Smitty.
so there was someone, and Bo McBriar, who I feel like every time I post my mock drafts, he always disagrees with me. He actually loved my draft, 98 out of 100.
You need to screenshot this right now and send it to him and say, take that, my friend. Take that, Bo. You got to eat that right now.
It's because I wasn't able to get Cortland Sutton in this particular mock draft.
Well, you came within one pick of Pittman and one pick of Sutton back to back. That was a lot. The fact that you didn't go on complete tilt and just blow the entire draft, it means a lot. I think you've shown everybody the path to the future. Did anyone hate your draft? Who hated it?
Jordan Rains from the IDP Army did not like my draft.
He hated mine as well. So I don't know where he has anyone ranked.
I mean, it's
Eli Mitchell across the board.
I mean,
it's all Eli Mitchell's.
Maybe he has a linebacker ranked number 1. He is from the IDP Army. Maybe, I don't know.
Fair.
Hey, I'm an IDP guy though. I don't think that's
his algorithm goes through the lineup. If there's not a defensive player in it, you automatically get a C-.
Perhaps. All right, Nick, how about you when it comes to the expert opinions tab over on the Draft Wizard? Who liked it? Who didn't like it?
So I don't know most of the names on the thumbs up. There's Mark Ross gave me a 99 out of 100, which I guess feels kind of good. On the flip side,
though, he gave me a D+. So just so you know.
Love that. Scott Pianowski from Yahoo Sports is someone that I definitely know, and he's on the flip side. He gave me a thumbs down, and I knew it. I knew he'd be rolling in his grave because he's actually someone that kind of I feel like implemented a rule in my head when it comes to injury optimism. That's one thing I think most fantasy players get way ahead of themselves on. Yes. Just the idea of projecting best case scenario for injuries when we have a flood of injury experts that do the work in our field that tell you what the actual medical timelines are for things outside of just like beat reporters getting excited and this guy looking good cutting in shorts. It's stuff that I throw out the window. And the more excited you get about a player when there's like fake reports going on, usually the worse it ends up being for your team. So he's someone who's always kind of like preached that well. And I've learned from that. And now he's got like the Leonard Fournette, Saquon Barkley, like thumbs down on me. And I'm like, damn, he's not going to like this video if he watches it.
Well, in the words of our own Scott Bogman, everyone's going to get hurt anyway. So why do I want to start with guys who are already hurt? And that's
exactly.
That's very zen. That's a very, easy thing to wrap your mind around. Let's take a look at the draft board here and we'll go through everybody's team and get a sense of how it all goes down. Nick, you started here with your quarterback. You got Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Leonard Fournette, 2 RB1s, pretty damn good. Wide receivers, look, you're taking shots and you got some upside guys here with Williams and Elijah Moore. There's no doubt about that. Mike Williams and Elijah Moore are both capable of having some huge games. But that's all they need to do is the capable part, and hopefully at least one of them gets one of them because the way this roster is constructed, you have Saquon Barkley at the flex. It's all about the running backs for you. It's all about the touchdowns. You have Adam Thielen as your third wide receiver, Dallas Goedert as your tight end. You also have Zach Ertz, so clearly you're trying to reunite all the Philadelphia tight ends together. Kadarius Toney, more upside, nice and simple, boring, but he's like oatmeal. Tyler Boyd, Khalil Herbert, Tyler Algier, and Jamison Crowder. I like this roster. I mean, I feel like there's some weeks, though, that, it might be a tough run if some of the running backs get stuffed up a little bit and Mike Williams doesn't have a good day. But how would you feel about this squad? You go to war with this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel okay about it. The wide receiver position doesn't have a ton of upside, and Taylor is obviously my staple for this team. You'd like to think that you'd be more confident in your top 3 picks or top 3 running backs if those are all your first picks, but like, there's a little bit of me that's like, there's a chance Uncle Lenny falls off. There's a chance that Saquon's just in the worst situation ever. And even if he stays healthy, he's not as good as he used to be. So I'm a little bit nervous. I think there's a risk involved, but I do think if all else kind of like hits, I think we have like a well-rounded piece of floor, upside, And this is my way of like talking through the fact that I don't think I like my team. That's really what I think we're getting at right now.
Nick, I knew from the first 2 minutes before the show started that you were my people because you say things like that, and that's I love it. I mean, authenticity is everything. Like you got to just be honest and keep it real. But look, I think it's important that we always look at the potential downsides because that's how you prepare. That's how you should be thinking. All right, what are the things that can go wrong with this team? This is what I need to address in a trade. This is how I need to address the waiver wire when something comes up at a certain position. Should I be very active over there at wide receiver? Should I be very active at running back and spend some fab early because this is a potential deficit? I think that's important to keep it real with yourself. Everybody loves their draft. Everybody gives their own draft an A for the most part. But at the end of the day, you have to be realistic and see where the problems are. Let's take a look at the problems on Andrew's team. Russell Wilson at quarterback, that's probably not a problem. DeAndre Swift and Breece Hall, two very solid running backs. CeeDee Lamb, you got your true number one. You got Hollywood Brown. We'll see if he can catch a football. Darnell Mooney at wide receiver 3, and for certainly a good value there. Kyle Pitts at tight end. Love that. Kareem Hunt as your flex. Then you got the Cleveland Browns. Gabriel Davis on the bench. That's amazing right there. You probably be starting Gabriel Davis, I would imagine. Ramondre Stevenson, Russell Gage, Rashad White, Julio Jones. I guess Roddy White wasn't available, so you took Julio, and then Tyrion Davis Price at the end here. So give me the good and the bad here potentially with this roster, Andrew.
I think that getting Russ where I did, basically like the 11th, 12th round turn, it just goes to show that there are still going to be quarterbacks available that you can get. Like I couldn't even wait to take Kirk Cousins because there was another quarterback there that I wanted to wait for. So I couldn't wait any longer. I was like, I'll just take Russ and feel great about that. So I don't think late round quarterback is dead. I think you can still definitely implement it. And I think it works the way, especially because I went tight end early. Like if I had gone tight end and quarterback early, like that would have taken a massive toll, I think, at my running backs and wide receivers because you already sacrificed one of those positions when you do take a tight end like Kyle Pitts. So when I look at kind of like zoom out of the Kyle Pitts pick, because you obviously are betting on him kind of delivering, I feel running backs, I really look at this roster and I think I wish this was a PPR league. Like that's kind of where I kind of think it probably went wrong, where I wasn't really baking to enough. I have too many guys that are too much. Okay, like hopefully they get a lot of targets. Hopefully they get a lot of receptions. Like Darnell Mooney, like I don't know how efficient he's going to be. I think he'll get a lot of receptions, a lot of targets. Same thing with Kyle Pitts, Breece Hall, and DeAndre Swift. I think they both have ceilings that are being used as receivers, especially with Swift because he's already done it. But that's just more valuable in the PPR format. And same thing with Breece Hall. Like I think he'll be better in PPR. If the Jets are trailing in games, he's going to have to score fantasy points because he's catching dump offs from Zach Wilson, not because, Breece Hall scored his third touchdown of the day when the Jets blew out this Miami Dolphins defense. Like that's probably not going to happen. So I think that's probably where I went wrong. I've been too deep into the PPR streets. I got to come up for air, get that half point and make adjustments. I think that's just an important rule. Like know the rules ahead of time, like understand the scoring.
Well, I did tell you it was half PPR.
I know you told me.
It was in an email. I told you before. I sent you a link. It says it on the top of the draft. I mean, I don't know what more I could do. I really don't. Just kind of.
I know.
But what's funny? I look at my roster and I actually think I did exactly what I would want to do in this scenario because I have a bunch of guys who have touchdown equity, who have touch equity. Like Jalen Hurts is my quarterback. In that format, I love this kind of quarterback, the rushing quarterback, right? That's great. That's exactly the guy I want. Cam Akers, good offense. J.K. Dobbins, I think a good offense. I still think Baltimore can turn things around from last year's, falling off, and they're going to run the football. I mean, they're just going to. Cooper Kupp, best wide receiver from last year. We could split hairs. I like Jefferson probably just as much as Kupp and probably Chase just as much as the other two. Deebo Samuel is my second wide receiver. I look at Deebo. And once again, this is a player who, they're going to scale him back, but he's still going to get some carries. Okay. Debo's still going to get some carries in this offense. Okay. Anybody tells me he's got touchdown equity. I think Lazard has a lot of touchdown equity. Darren Waller, one of the tight ends, I think brings more touchdown equity than most other tight ends will bring. AJ Dillon, everybody knows I'm a big fan. 49ers D. Then you got Tony Pollard there, who certainly has upside. Trey Lance, another just shot in the dark pick there. I did take the two quarterbacks, but because as much as I love Jalen Hurts in fantasy, I still think Jalen Hurts, the real life quarterback, is, somebody that has still a ways to go. Devontae Parker, Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, and KJ Osborne. I'm just taking shots here, and I'm going to play matchups at wide receiver and play weak corners. That's the approach here for this team. I tried to convince the draft wizard. A draft wizard disagrees with me. It says it's a C. That's fine. It's fine, draft wizard. And I think what it's seeing is unproven Allen Lazard. It's seeing J.K. Dobbins and Cam Akers coming off injured seasons. I think all of that is very fair. And I think when you have Jameson Williams coming back from an injury, when you have Jahan Dotson, who's a rookie, there's a lot of unknowns here. Trey Lance is an unknown. So the draft wizard's telling me it's fine. It could be an A, but right now it's a C because there's enough unknown that it could be an F. Fine, draft wizard. You're always so wise, and that's why we like you so much.
What was your draft insight? Like it usually suggests, what
it
if
said,
you had
stop reading Andrew Erickson articles. I'm pretty sure that's what it said. My draft insights, my top player was Cooper Kupp. It says, if I had taken Brandon Cooks instead of the tight end, I would have scored 50 points higher. So I would have still been, I'm 10th, and I would have been 10th. So way to go. No, I would have been, a little bit higher. It would have probably been more like.
Would have made no difference.
It would have been no difference at all. 50 points difference, but no difference. So I might need to hit the waiver wire because Debo and Tony Pollard have a bye at the same. I don't care about that.
Oh yeah, the bye.
Honestly,
doesn't matter.
It gave me reaches on Williams and Dotson. Now Olave is my preference because I think Olave, healthy wide receiver in New Orleans, where I want to be. But still. I mean, I get it. It is a reach, but it's a calculated reach based on talent and I think upside of what one or both of them might be. So there you have it. Nick, you can follow him on Twitter at Nick Ercolano. And of course, check out all of his work at BDGE_. Nick, thanks so much for hanging out with us, man. He's great fun, fantastic insights. What do the big dogs have going on nowadays? Walk us through what's going on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, dude, I had a blast today. Joe, were you a radio guy before this?
Oh, radio, television. I still do the TV. I coach flag football.
Acting.
I'm a man of many talents, right, Andrew?
Actor, former actor.
Cooking meatballs. Yes. Yeah, all
classically trained, studied Shakespeare at Oxford. Your typical fantasy sports host,
Yeah, I mean, it certainly shows. You got a great voice. You're on top of things, man. It's good.
I've got a face for radio. More importantly, that's what you really
come
want.
on, man. That head is beautiful. I'd rub it if I saw you in person.
My dude.
Yeah. So I mean, we're putting out content daily over here on the YouTube. We are very heavily invested in TikTok as well. We've been going very, very hard on that, which has been a super fun platform to just open it up to a new audience, and it's a place you can get a lot more creative. It's not as serious. It's not as analytically driven. It's just kind of messing around with different types of videos that you want to do short form for. So we're doing a lot of stuff on YouTube, a lot of stuff on TikTok, but otherwise that's all we're really doing is just creating content all day, every day. You guys know, you know how it is being in this industry.
We do. Yep. Listen, man. And I this morning I was, before you came on the show, I always like to get a sense of our guests too, especially some of the recent work they're doing. And I went down the wormhole, man, and I was watching a lot of the stuff. It's super entertaining, man. It's my kind of stuff. It's people who know football, talking football. And like I said, the authenticity thing is very important. And you guys have that. And I like that. And it's okay to disagree. Like, I'm sure many people will disagree with some of the things that you guys say, but that's okay. It's a conversation, but you back up what you got to say. And I think that's really fun. And I like the approach you're taking because you're talking football. And as much as analytics are important, football is important too. And I like the way you guys do the balancing act between that. Speaking of balancing acts, Andrew Erickson's been balancing a lot of content and he's been doing phenomenal work. So go support Andrew and go support Debro and Pat and Friedman and everybody who's been putting the draft kit together. Again, that's available at fantasypros.com/kit. It's free to get the draft kit, but if you're a premium member, you get access to the entire draft kit. It's got everything you need to dominate your drafts. That's right. And most importantly, if you want to take that next level, right? You want to take that next step up, go ahead and go to fantasypros.com/offers, make a deposit in one of our partner sites, place a wager. That's it. That's all you got to do. You're going to do this anyway. And when you do it on fantasypros.com/offers for the love of God. And then you get 12 free months access to the premium features. And then you can go use the premium draft kit. You can go use all the in-season tools we have here at Fantasy Pros and realize why those other people in your league keep beating you because they're using our stuff. So go ahead, be smart. Make good investments. Go to fantasypros.com/offers and get it done. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/fantasypros and have fun doing all the mock drafts you could possibly handle before you get yelled at by your significant other over at the fantasypros.com/draftwizard. That's the place to go. Gentlemen, this was fun. That would be the understatement of a lifetime. I enjoyed having you guys hanging out today, doing the show. I'm sorry I couldn't score higher on the Draft Wizard, but I want the Draft Wizard to show me at the end of the year all the mocks I did, how they actually graded out. I'm going to talk to the guys about that. Do we have that feature, Andrew? I don't even know.
You mean like best ball, basically?
Not best ball, you jerk. I'm talking about like
Joe. They have that. You know that.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is, you know how we do these drafts and it says in draft season this team is a C, but what is it at the end of the season? That's what I'm talking about. I think I just created a new wizard. So that being said, I'm gonna go talk to the development guys there, and then that'll do it for us.
I'm sure they can't wait.
I'm sure they can't wait. Joe, take your bald head and get out of here with your stupid ideas. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Andrew Erickson and Nick Ercolano, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.